Hey guys, it's Tommy Kane, Val Maxim, back live with you guys. Again, you know the whole thing. Like, subscribe, please like, always do a like on every video if you're a fan and you enjoy my shows. But let's get into it, man. California has now beat, Gavin Newsom has now beat Donald Trump in court regarding the fraudulent and illegal actions that Trump committed by sending federalizing our National Guard here in California. I am a Californian. I live here in Los Angeles. I happen to know for a fact that these protests were peaceful. I went down there. I filmed them live. I showed that they were peaceful. I showed how there was a couple of troublemakers that kind of weren't really involved with the protesters. They kind of went off and did some things. Like they burned a couple of Waymo cars, whatever. There was some graffiti. But for the most part, it was peaceful. I went out of my way to make sure that I prove that to everybody. But it seems, obviously I don't have a platform big enough to really reach as many people as I'd like, which is why you need to like that video. Maybe help me get out there. But a lot of lies. A lot of footage being used from other times in Los Angeles, other riots, other days when things were looted. Lots of lies, propaganda on the news and on social media, big time on social media. A lot of misinformation flying around, and it's just crazy. It's literally gotten to the point of I don't even know what to say anymore, because I'm trying to find a document to be able to read to you guys that I was hoping to be able to find. It looks like I have some information here that I was going to share with you, but it appears that I can't get to it without paying for it, which is so annoying, really frustrating. So just give me 1 second, because I should have had this ready before we went live, but I didn't. But so Gavin Newsom, I have him up on the screen because I want everybody to listen to what he says, because I know you might say, well, consider the source, consider the source. It's Gavin Newsom, so, he's going to say this, but I'm just telling you factually, okay, that I live here and I was there at these protests, and I know for a fact that everything that he is saying is true. And so therefore, okay, they're not going to give it to me. All right, never mind. I can't show you guys. Therefore, I want you to listen to him, because what he says is all factually true. And I could tell you that emphatically because I was there. I was involved in the protest. I went down to the protest. I pulled phones out. I filmed it. I put it up on my channel. I showed that it was peaceful. I showed that it was less than 1,000 people within a 1-block radius. I showed this, and I wanted everybody to be able to see this. So that being said, let's listen to what he has to say, and I'll give some commentary.
I want to say a few words about the events of the last few days. This past weekend, federal agents conducted large-scale workplace raids in and around Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. Those raids continue as I speak. California is no stranger to immigration.
This was 1 day ago. These raids are done now because Trump lost the court decision. But let's keep listening.
Enforcement. But instead of focusing on undocumented immigrants with serious criminal records and people with final deportation orders, a strategy both parties have long supported, this administration is pushing mass deportations.
And by the way, for those of you who don't believe that that's what this administration is doing, oh, hi, Margell. Thank you. You saw me. Yes, I was definitely there. I'm glad you tuned in. I'm glad you watched. For those of you who don't believe when Gavin Newsom says that they were just arresting ordinary people, understand that Trump has now admitted this. Trump has now did a complete 180 reversal on his immigration policies. He just made a post on Truth Social. I'm going to show it to you. He just made a post on Truth Social where he admitted that now all these businesses are coming to him and big time hotels and things like that. And they're saying, you're killing us, dude. Like, you're arresting, people that we train to do labor. These people are hard to replace at this wage. You're really hurting us and this and that. And so now Trump's doing a complete reversal. But this just goes to show you that, number one, Trump just is bribed by businesses and corporations, and he's doing everything that he's doing to enrich himself. But it also shows he doesn't really have any real, he doesn't stand on anything. He doesn't believe in anything. The only thing he cares about is getting money. So now these big hotel people, these big billionaire hotel companies, they probably went to him and said, what are you doing? You're killing our businesses. And there was probably some transaction, just like every other person he's been dealing with. And now he's going to do a complete reversal on his immigration policies. It's utterly ridiculous. So he's admitted that he's arresting ordinary people who go to work every day that are not criminals. He's now admitted this.
Indiscriminately targeting hardworking immigrant families, regardless of their roots or risk. What's happening right now is very different than anything we've seen before. On Saturday morning, when federal agents jumped out of an unmarked van near a Home Depot parking lot, they began grabbing people, a deliberate targeting of a heavily Latino suburb.
Now, Home Depot in Los Angeles is often where there are certain people that are here, undocumented, and they're basically like trying to survive, and they need to feed their families, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. So they stand out in front of Home Depot begging for work. And I've actually hired some of these guys. And I'll admit it, there's work around my apartment that I needed to get done not too long ago. And I said, I'll just go to Home Depot and I'll give some guy that needs a job some work. And he came and he brought a buddy and they did a bunch of work in my apartment and I paid them a few $100s. And, it is what it is. They were able to eat that day or that week or hopefully, or I guess a couple days. I don't know how much a couple $100 is, but at the end of the day, I've hired these people, but they're just people trying to survive. They went to Home Depot and started rounding up these people, loading them into a jail van to take them off to El Salvador or some detention center somewhere. By the way, not notifying their families, nothing. I'm sure you've already heard all this.
A similar thing played out when a clothing company was raided downtown. In other actions, a U.S. citizen, 9 months pregnant, was arrested.
Yep.
A 4-year-old girl taken. Families.
A 4-year-old girl that had cancer. Oh, they already appealed it? Yeah, I'm not worried about celebrating because they're going to win. California will win the appeal too. I have zero doubt in that. I knew that they would win the decision, and I know they're going to win the appeal, just like every single case that has been brought against Trump from the Supreme Court has all been ruled that he's overreaching and abusing his authority. All of them. And even some of the appeals. They have to bring back all 140 Venezuelans that they illegally deported too. So they had to bring back Garcia. So I'm not celebrating per se, but I am announcing that California won the decision. And they're going to win the appeals also. So make no mistake about that.
Separated. Friends quite literally disappearing. In response, everyday Angelenos came out to exercise their constitutional right to free speech and.
So what you're saying is if I break the law and so many years go by, I'm working, have a family, pay taxes, I guess, whatever I did should be automatically forgiven? I don't understand what question. What do you mean? What do you mean? So what I'm saying, when did I say anything about you breaking a law or you paying taxes and that you should be forgiven? I don't even know what your question means. I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm trying to make sense about what we're talking about. We're talking about Trump's illegal overreach, sending 4,000 or federalizing 4,000 National Guardsmen in the state of California unlawfully in a situation that didn't require it. So I don't understand what you're saying. No, I'm not saying that I know, but I'm saying that I don't have a crystal ball, but I am saying that I 100% believe that they will win. But regardless, that has nothing to do with today. Today, I'm talking about what happened today. And today, California won the case. So it doesn't matter that they appealed it. I have every right to announce that they won the case. Doesn't matter if I could see into the future or not. Anyway, let's continue.
Assembly to protest their government's actions. In turn, the state of California and the city and county of Los Angeles sent our police officers to help keep the peace. And with some exceptions, they were successful. Like many states, California is no stranger to this sort of unrest. We manage it regularly and with our own law enforcement.
Absolutely. And let me explain something. I went downtown to the protests, and I was walking through with my cameras out, showing what was going on. And there was, the police outnumbered the protesters like 30-1. It was unbelievable. For 5 blocks in every direction, there was nothing. Streets were empty. Just police barricade after police barricade after police barricade. I had to walk like over a mile across like 6 city blocks from where I parked. And I went past like 5, 6, maybe 7 police barricades before I even arrived at the protest that was on one intersection. One intersection, about 800 people. That's who it was that was protesting. And the police, many of which weren't even LAPD. I had a talk with one of the police officers, and I asked him, did you guys want this help? And they said, no, we didn't want any help. We didn't ask for any help. We didn't want them to bring any kind of National Guard or any of that here. And then I said, well, I asked him for directions to get back to my car, and the cop said, I don't know my way around here. I'm not from here. And I said, you're not from here? He said, no, I'm from up north, Northern California. And I said, they brought Northern California police down here for this? And he's like, and I'm like, why? Like, I mean, why would they bring you down for something like this? I mean, it's not even a big, and he just went, that was the face he made. So I saw this in real time. I saw, at the time when we had 2,000 National Guardsmen, I saw them all standing around the federal building, completely bored out of their mind. Just standing around. There was no one. There was nothing happening. They weren't even anywhere near where the protesters were. I think only like 300 went to go where the protesters were. The other 1,700 were just sitting around with absolutely nothing to do. And then when Newsom told Trump, we don't need them, get them out of here, Trump defiantly sent another 2,000 when it was unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. So, I mean, it's just utterly ridiculous. There was no reason for them to be here is the argument. You understand what I mean? So, so you don't think breaking immigration laws is considered a crime? No, it is a civil violation. So the way the law works in this country is if you come here and you're undocumented and you didn't file the paperwork to become a citizen, that is a civil violation. It is not a criminal violation. So no, I don't consider it a crime. It is a civil violation by our very laws and the standard of law in the United States. It's a civil violation, not criminal. So the way that you handle a civil violation is through due process, and you figure out what's going on, why didn't you file, or what's happening, and you look into the matters and you find out what's going on. You can't say people came here and didn't do what they were supposed to do or didn't become citizens or whatever unless you follow due process to find that out. So do I think it's cool that federal agents are wearing masks with no badges and jumping out of vans and grabbing people off the street, throwing them in vans and shipping them off to El Salvador and countries where they're not even from? Do I think that that's like horrible? Yes, I do. I don't think that they should be doing that because anyone, according to the Constitution of the United States, any persons, if you read the Constitution, any persons, okay, on American soil need to be given due process. So, considering it is a civil violation, No, it is not a crime, and definitely not something that deserves abduction and your family. These guys, some of these guys were working at a restaurant for 15 years and had family, paid taxes. See, what you don't understand is that you, because I could see your comments on here. I'll put them on the screen if you want me to, man. If you think I'm like trying to like somehow disguise like or hide like what you're saying, like you're talking about we need to be on the phone or whatever. I don't know where it went now. The box. This happened last time. Oh, God. Every time I try to drag the comment box off the window, it erases it, and then I can't find it. Okay, here it is. So now you're over here with us. All right. Now you're on the screen side. All right. So I'll put this right here so we can have this discussion in front of everybody. So you asked me, do you think breaking immigration laws is considered a crime? No, I don't think it's considered a crime, and it's not about what I think, and it's not about my feelings. It's about actual facts that it's a civil violation. Okay. Number two, if you break the immigration laws, say 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 30 years ago, again, it's a civil violation. And you go to work, you raise a family, you pay taxes, but you should never have to be deported for breaking immigration laws. No, you should be deported if you don't belong here. But the way that it should be done is through due process of the law. You should be able to be brought in and ask questions. It should be investigated. There should be a process by which they verify whether or not you did do your due diligence or whatever the reason was. There could be many reasons why somebody appears undocumented when they aren't. That's the reason why some of the people that got shipped to El Salvador turned out to be mistakes. They turned out to be mistakes. Some of them turned out to be citizens, natural born, that were shipped. And so those mistakes don't get made when you follow the process of the law, when you follow due process. So you trying to come on my channel and sit here and argue with me like so you're for like immigrants just like being illegal. That's not what I said at all. What I'm telling you is we have laws and we need to follow the laws, and Trump is a criminal who is not following them. Okay? He is not following the Constitution. He is not following the law. He has already been, it's already been ruled by a Supreme Court 9-9. Okay? 6 of which are conservatives. Some of them he appointed himself, that are MAGA supporters who love him, that he appointed to the bench, and they ruled against him on it. That's how illegal it is. So your feelings really don't matter. I'm talking about the law, my guy. We're talking about the law. So, what's the other question? So if you had your phone with you and you were recording, why didn't you record that conversation with the police? I did record it. You can hear me actually talking to the cops in the background. So I'm not lying, reloader. I'm not lying to you. I had like literally almost 30 people who watched it live, and everybody knows I walked up to the police and had these conversations while my phone was sitting in my hand recording. There's recordings of it on my channel. So if you think I'm lying, then go ahead and watch my channel. Go ahead and watch the video for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's lying. I'm telling the truth. I went down there and I filmed it. And that's the bottom line. So you guys are getting owned right now. You guys are getting owned. Your right-wing MAGA bullshit is getting owned on my channel, and you can't handle it. You guys are idiots. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's butthurt, like, except you. Like, you know, you guys are in here crying. You don't think coming to the country illegally, so you think it's cool to come here illegally? You're so stupid, you don't understand the English language. I literally just broke down exactly what the deal is with the law and that it's a civil violation. Do you know how to say civil violation? That's a really big word. Violation. That's a 4-syllable word. Civil law, okay? These are things that you learn when you get educated. Educated, okay? When you actually go get educated, you learn what civil law means. You learn this stuff. And you come in the country and you think, so you think that like that it's okay for the. That's literally what you sound like. You're a fucking idiot. Like, learn how to speak English. You're a fucking idiot. Blocked. Anybody else want to fucking come in here and argue with me? blocked. Anybody else? It's very hard for many immigrants to get visas. There needs to be a better process. Yes, I agree with you. I 100% agree. There is a problem with the process. I'm not going to sit here and argue with idiots that don't even fucking know what the hell they're talking about. I can't stand people like that. I have zero tolerance. If you want to come and debate me, you want to come and have a conversation, I will bring it on. I'll put a phone number on the channel. You can call me and we'll debate in real time in front of everybody. But one thing I'm not going to tolerate is if we're going to have a debate, then we're going to have a political discussion. We're not going to have an emotional one. If you can't cite laws, if you can't cite policies, if you can't cite actual legislature, if you can't point to specific politicians that voted for or against or wrote these legislature, if you can't do that, then we're not having a political debate. We're having an emotional argument. You want to shout at me about your feelings. I don't have time for your feelings. So bye-bye. Anyway, back to Newsom.
But this, again, was different. What then ensued was a use of tear gas, flashbang grenades, rubber bullets, federal agents detaining people and undermining their due process rights. Donald Trump, without consulting.
I love this. Opal Giannis, remember when MAGA was facts over feelings? Yeah, exactly. I don't know what happened. All this just for it to get reversed by the Court of Appeals. That's exactly it, man. I'm trying to understand in my mind. I think it's very funny that Donald Trump was accused of being in the Epstein files by Elon Musk. And within like 48 hours, he wages a fucking war on Los Angeles for no reason, starts threatening to arrest the mayor, Gavin Newsom, for absolutely nothing. Then they walk back on that. They don't do it, right? Then they grab Senator Padilla, which we're going to see in a few minutes. They put cuffs on him, but they don't arrest him. They walk back on that. They make all these threats. But then when you hold them to account or you try to make them follow through with them, they back off. And all it's telling me is that they're bullies. They're bullies that want to scare, but they don't actually have the balls to actually really go full fascist. They just don't have the balls to do it. And every single time that the courts go to them and say, you can't do this, they just stop. They just reverse whatever they were doing. But think about how much American taxpayer dollars, think about how much taxpayer dollars has been spent on illegally deporting 140 people that they now have to bring back, illegally deporting Garcia, who they now had to bring back. All of these decisions, it cost $130 million for them to federalize our National Guard. $130 million. For what? For them to just go, okay, we're wrong, and now they got to go home, and now the court said you can't do it or whatever. They went and did an appeal. There's going to be time on the appeal, right? And when that appeal, and I do believe that Gavin Newsom will win, 100%, I believe that. And when that happens, they'll just have to leave. So it's like all the expenditure for what? It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. What is he trying to detract from? The Epstein files? I don't know. I mean, I'm not like a conspiracy theorist, but it's really strange that right when that got mentioned, all hell broke loose.
California law enforcement leaders commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation.
Absolutely.
Putting our people, our officers, and even our National Guard at risk.
By the way, I also want to let you guys know that the LAPD has come out and said that through the entire thing, they had to arrest 50 people and they had to fire 600 rubber bullets in like 4 days. 50 people were arrested and 600 rubber bullets were fired. That's it. In 4 days of protest. So this idea that the city's burning down, everybody, Los Angeles is under attack, everything is like, oh my God, it's all just bullshit. It's all bullshit. Literally, it's all lies. This president is lying through his teeth. LA is under attack. It's a war zone. Fox News pumping views of like exploding vehicles over and over and over again and all this shit. Dude, it's all lies. Complete lie. I mean, it's nonsense. I live here. I live 20 minutes away from where the protests were. Today, I walked 5 blocks to go get some lunch. I drank coffee. I walked outside in the sun. It was a beautiful day. Gorgeous women are walking around in beautiful short shorts. It was beautiful, dude. It was an amazing day. And the city's not burning down, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
That's when the downward spiral began. he doubled down on his dangerous National Guard deployment by fanning the flames even harder. And the president, he did it on purpose. As the news spread throughout LA, anxiety for family and friends ramped up. Protests started again. By night, several dozen lawbreakers became violent and destructive. They vandalized property. They tried to assault police officers. Many of you have seen the video clips of cars burning on cable news.
Yep.
If you incite violence, I want to be clear about this. If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account. That kind of criminal behavior will not be tolerated. Full stop.
I saw Asmongold's show the other day, and he's sitting there showing clip footage of looting, and the looting is like nowhere near. We're talking miles and miles away from where the protests were. Miles and miles away. And he's sitting there like, look at this, man. LA is under siege. This is crazy. Trump is right, man. And all this shit. And I'm going, dude, I live here. Like, that's nowhere near. It's so much fake shit out there. It's nuts. It's just crazy. So Kristi Noem goes to say a bunch of lies about Los Angeles that aren't true. And Senator Padilla goes in there to ask her a question, and this happens.
As our law enforcement officers have been assaulted, they've been pelted with rocks and bricks. Their cars have been set on fire. Molotov cocktails have been used.
There was a couple of Waymo vehicles set on fire. LAPD's cars being set on fire is not true. Bricks and rocks were only thrown at the back of some vehicles, and it happened one time in a skirmish.
We have seen people throw bottles and hammers at them. We've also seen that they have been attacked and verbally spit on or punched or assaulted, and it's just not acceptable.
None of that is true. Water was thrown. People were taking bottles of water and taking the lid and just splashing it. And these guys had face shields on. Most of the cops, when they got hit with water, didn't even care. They'd be walking through and water's getting flung and they're getting hit. They didn't even react. They were just like, whatever, guys, throw water. Who cares? It wasn't until and this is of course, when one cop who got water on him pushed a woman, and then the woman's boyfriend saw that a cop pushed his woman and didn't know why he did it. And then he hit the cop as a reaction. And then they shot a couple of rubber bullets at him. There was a little bit of a skirmish, and then it was over in 5 minutes.
The Department of Homeland Security and the officers and the agencies and the departments and the military people that are working on this operation will continue to sustain and increase our operations in this city. We are not going away. We are staying here to liberate this city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Kristi Noem, for coming to liberate me. I need it, dude. I'm out here in LA so needing help of liberation right now. I mean, my life is so freaking miserable out here. I'm oppressed by this evil Gavin Newsom and his social order, and I just didn't know what to do. And it's we're under attack by all these immigrants, and the war. It's a war zone, and my whole city's burning down. I'm so grateful for you to come here and liberate us, Kristi Noem. I'm so fucking thankful. I appreciate it, you jackass, you unqualified shit stain that needs to get fucking arrested for all the crimes you've committed against this country. But anyways,
and
I digress.
They have tried to insert into this city. So I want to say thank you to every single person that has been able to do this. Also, I want to talk specifically to the rioters and to the politicians in Los Angeles.
Half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
I also want to talk about specifically how many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty, how they have been targeted, and how their families have been put in jeopardy, and that we're not going to allow that anymore as well. That those individuals who are purposely endangering our ICE agents and our law enforcement officers and their families will be prosecuted for what they are doing as far as perpetuating violence on them.
California Senator Alex Padilla.
Insane, dude. Insane. That was Senator Padilla being dragged out of the building. And in other footage that I don't have at the moment, but in other footage, I've seen him actually get slammed down and handcuffed. Literally. I'm not even kidding you. Absolutely insane. Yes. Hey, it's your friend Robert. I like that name. Hey, it's your friend Robert. It will be overturned. So what did he gain? Exactly. I don't know. And Big Baby Jane. Yes, it was. And 6 police cars disabled. Yeah, well, you know what? There might have been on the last day, there might have been, I know somebody had said something about a windshield being taken out on a cop car. The entire time that I've gone down there and every time that I have been involved in that protest or seen it or been down there, I saw no police cars on fire. I've not even seen footage. I haven't even seen footage, accurate footage that of a police car on fire. If anybody can actually show that to me and trust me, I know Los Angeles. This is my city. I live here. It's my home city. So I know what the streets are. I know what the buildings are. So if you send me some bullshit nonsense that is some clip from some other event or some other craziness that happened in LA, I'll know. So if you could show me accurate footage of a police car being on fire during this protest, send it to me. This guy says, you are lie. He says, you are lie. You are lie. That's hilarious. Okay, so judge issues a temporary ruling against Trump using the National Guard in LA. A federal judge has ruled against President Trump's use of the National Guard of Los Angeles, siding with the state of California's argument that the president erred in how the Guard was being activated. Because there is a law where if you do that, you need to have the governor's not only approval, but also collaboration. They had neither. The order requires Trump to return control of the National Guard to California Governor Gavin Newsom by noon Friday. The ruling could still be appealed, but it's a setback for the White House and the dispute over the powers it can assert in cracking down on illegal immigration and over public opposition to it. It was not immediately clear if or when Guard units would be removed. In a hearing Thursday, District Judge Charles Breyer rejected an argument by the administration's lawyer that the courts do not have authority to review a president's decision on whether the National Guard is needed. That's the difference between a constitutional government and King George. King George. It's not that the leader can simply say something and then it becomes it, the judge said. No kings in America, man. Stating on Saturday, Trump deployed 4,000. He deployed 4,000 California National Guard and several hundred U.S. Marines to Los Angeles over the objections of Democratic Governor Newsom. National Guard units across the country are under the command of governors, but can be federalized by the presidents or by presidents. Breyer said during the hearing that he could not rule on the use of the Marines, though the lawyer for California said they might replace Guard troops. Insanity. In his order deploying the Guard, Trump said there had been attempts to impede immigration agents in Los Angeles that constituted a form of rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States. It was the first time in 60 years that a president had activated a state's National Guard over objections of the state's governor. In 1965, this is the precedent that has been set. In 1965, President Lyndon B. Johnson sent troops to Alabama to protect civil rights demonstrators. So let me explain this to you for those who don't understand this. The precedent in American history, when there has actually been a president who has said, I'm going to federalize the National Guard of a state, unlawfully against the governor's will. That's only happened once in the history of America, the American government. And the one time that it happened was Lyndon Johnson. He did it to protect protesters because at the time, the governor was using unlawful force against those protesters. So the president said, nah, you can't do that. Those protesters are allowed to protest. It's their freedom of speech and their right to do that. And this is the hype train that always happens, right? Is you get a group of people that go protest and they have a serious interest in or a serious reason to protest. Something bad is happening. The government is overreaching. They're doing bad things. That's the American way. That's what makes America amazing, is that we stand up when the government is doing things wrong. For some reason, MAGA people, it's very interesting. MAGA people have been crying literally so hard since 2015 about how corrupt Democrats are, corrupt the government is, the government needs to be overhauled, corruption. They're so terrible, they're so bad, we got to rise up against it, it's so bad. And now that their president and their administration, who they voted for to be in office, now that they're doing absolutely egregious crimes against the Constitution, they're not going through checks and balances, which is the laws in the United States. They're not going through the legislative branch. They're not trying to pass laws through the House, other than the big beautiful bill, which is the only thing. But in the meantime, Trump has literally just been like, "I'm the law. I'm going to do this." Like when he tried to tell Maine, you need to get your one trans athlete, one in the whole state. There's only 1.5 million people in Maine. There's like one trans athlete. They're like, you need to get that one trans athlete off the team, or we're going to deny you of your federal funding. A president can't do that. That is against the law. It is against the law for a president to do that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, a president cannot tell a state what to do. That is against the law. That is the fundamental way that our government is set up. So understand this, right? Claudio Rossetti, Newsom lost that case a few days ago. Newsom lost what case? What are you talking about? Newsom lost what case? Like this case? Because no, he didn't. I'm actually reading like a court ruling right now. Thomas, if you think I'm a joke, then fuck off and go watch somebody else. Like, it doesn't really matter if you think I'm a joke. You know what I'm saying? like who the fuck are you, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a joke. So the bottom line is that, this is the truth. I mean, they ruled against this because the courts are saying that this was government overreach, that they can't rule in favor of it. And there's going to be an appeal, as it's stated, and it in fact it is already. It's been appealed, but I guarantee you that California will win that appeal. I guarantee you it, because there are laws in the United States. Now, the reason why idiots like this Thomas Reddick guy want to come on my YouTube channel and call me a joke is because I'm not saying to them what they want to hear. I'm not telling them what they want to hear. They have feelings. They're MAGA people. They have feelings, and they want to believe that their feelings are correct. But I feel like, college kids are mean to me and tell me to check my privilege, and I'm sick of it. And that's why I hate Democrats. And I don't want to hear about feelings, man. Like, what I want is this. If you really believe Democrats and liberals are your enemy, if you really believe that, okay? If you really believe that, I will happily debate any one of you, any single one of you who want to debate me on this. But here's the rules to the debate. I want you to name specific politicians, specific policy, specific legislature that you can name and point to that show, because this is the problem. There's so many emotions. Social media people have got you by the balls. They're feeding you all this emotional shit and making you angry and getting you mad and making you hate the other side. So much so that you are willing to support a fascist dictatorship because you're literally like, and this isn't, I'm not speaking to all of you, but I have MAGA friends who literally are like, I don't care. Trump can do whatever he wants. I don't care if he's breaking the law. Whatever, I agree with him. And it's like, well, just because you agree with somebody doesn't mean that we should overthrow democracy or overthrow how our country and our laws and our government functions. Like, if you are somebody who does not support a democratic establishment, a democratic republic, if you do not support that fundamentally, and you would prefer a guy that you agree with to just come in and be a boss like a wrecking ball and tell everybody how to live their lives because you agree with them, you're a fascist authoritarian by the very words of what they mean. Words have definitions. Words have meanings. I'm only saying these things because those words actually have meanings. So if you hate that, I'm saying this, if you have a problem with the fact that I'm saying this because you feel like, trans kids are blah, 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 gender people, blah, 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 and all of this has got you in an emotional tiffy that makes you feel like the Democrats need to be destroyed so that we can have a fascist movement, then you're the problem. You're literally the problem. You're as much of a lunatic as the people that are on the far left that want to silence free speech and try to shut people down over, that want to ruin people's careers over a joke. You are the same person. You are the exact polar opposite mirror image of radical liberals. You're just a radical MAGA person. And that's the problem. Because the 80% in the middle, you know, I don't know if you guys know that Musk put something on X and he literally asked everybody, should there be a government that represents the 80% in the middle? And 5.5 million people voted and 80% exactly said yes. So those people are people that are reasonable and that follow laws and understand that how government works and the foundation of our government. I'm not here with my white face and my blue eyes to sit here and tell you that what you want to hear. I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, yeah, bro, like, you know, like these libtards, man, these trans people, they're trying to ruin masculinity, man. We got to vote for Trump, dude, because I'm telling you, they're trying to, you know, they want to turn us all into sissies. I'm not going to sit here and do that because they're fucking morons getting paid off of you being a moron. That's what's going on. They're sitting there feeding you some bullshit narrative and you're buying into it and making them rich. Filthy rich with views and your clicks and your time, and you're buying their fucking merch and all this shit because they're appealing to your inferiority. They're appealing to your insecurities and fear and irrationality. And I'm not going to. I'm going to tell you the truth. So if you don't like that, Mr. Thomas Reddick, then go watch somebody else. So California's Newsom had said that Trump's use of the military was unlawful. It was. The federal government is now turning the military against American citizens, Newsom said in a statement, when his state sued to get control of the Guard back. Sending trained warfighters onto the streets is unprecedented and threatens the very core of our democracy. That's a factual statement. You know who sends military and federalizes military and turns them against American citizens and American people? Dictators. That's what that is. That's exactly what that is. Dictators do that. You know who goes around and grabs immigrants and that are undocumented and says, we're going to throw you in a van and ship you off somewhere without any due process and without even verifying if we're right or correct or wrong about your situation? Dictators do that. Fascist leaders, authoritarians do that. That's who does that. Like, by the very definition, if you go back in history and you look at Mussolini and you look at Adolf Hitler and you look at, you know, even, what's his name? Zhao Xi. I can never say the guy's name, the Chinese dictator. If you go back, or even Putin, look at how Putin took over Russia. Okay. It's all part of the same playbook. Trump put a loyalist in the Department of Justice. He put a sycophant like Pam Bondi. She worships the ground this guy walks on. She'll never betray him at all. Pete Hegseth, a moron, a Fox News idiot he was in the military. So what? He's not qualified to head the Department of Defense. What are his fucking credentials? That he was a soldier once? That's fucking embarrassing, and it's a joke. And he got put in the head of the Department of Defense with no fucking credentials. Why? Because Donald Trump likes loyalists. And look at Kash Patel. I showed this before. I'm going to do it again in front of you guys so you guys can see. Kash Patel children's book on Amazon, okay? And just take a look at this book. Kash Patel wrote this children's book, The Plot Against Our King. And it's Donald Trump, an evil Hillary Clinton. He wrote a book to teach children that Donald Trump is our king, being overthrown by the evil. And this guy is in charge of the FBI? So now let me ask you something. You think if there was really proof or evidence that Trump was in the Epstein files, you think Kash Patel is going to release them? If Trump does something criminal, do you think the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi, is really going to go send a federal marshal to do anything about it? Do you think anybody's going to do anything about it? All the people that he's putting in charge of? You have got a man off the leash, unhinged, basically doing whatever he wants, committing and violating all kinds of crimes that I'm not saying that he's violating crimes. The Supreme Court is saying that he's violating all these crimes, or that he's committing these crimes of violating the Constitution. The Supreme Court is ruling over and over and over and over again. And not a liberal Supreme Court. It's a majority conservative Supreme Court, half of which these conservative side were literally put on the bench by Donald Trump himself, and they're still ruling against his criminal activity, saying this is illegal. And then, of course, he appeals it and lets time ride out while he continues to do it anyways. That's called authoritarian. That's what that is. So, guys, words have meanings, words have definitions, and laws exist, and America is a nation of laws. Now, am I worried that Donald Trump is going to take over the country as a fascist ruler? No, I'm not worried about that. The reason why I'm not worried about that is because America has seen this before. In the 1970s, Richard Nixon pushed just as many buttons, maybe not as gone this far, but he definitely went pretty far for the time. And at the end of the day, what ends up happening is there's a blue wave of voting in the midterms, and everybody goes and they put some more balance of power in the White House, and then that sort of offsets things. And do I think Trump is doing things that are fascist-like, putting his name on the plates in the White House, like literally just, taking full control and saying, I'm the law to states and you're going to do what I say, all this stuff that the courts are ruling against him on? Yeah, it's egregious. It's egregious stuff. But do I think that America will overcome it? I do. I absolutely do. Even though I know a lot of younger people are sitting scrolling on their phones and sort of not really paying attention and stuff like that, I do believe that eventually he's going to push the wrong buttons. And you mark my words, on Saturday, you're going to see one of the largest protests in American history take place. And then they're going to keep getting larger and larger and larger, because that's what America does. That's what America does, because the Constitution is the fundamental foundation of this country. And regardless of whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or a liberal or a conservative or a MAGA or a Black Lives Matter person or whatever the fuck it is you follow, the law is the law. The law is the law. And there's not anything that you can do about the law, period. It's going to always prevail no matter what. Now, am I saying Trump's going to go to prison? No. The courts have already ruled that he can't be charged criminally for any of the stuff he's doing. However, they can repeatedly keep saying over and over and over again and sanctioning him over and over and over again, you're doing things that are unlawful. And that can cause the people to rise up. And that's exactly what happens. The more you start sending military and throw tear gas into like buildings of restaurants, and you start yanking people out of the restaurant who've been working there 10, 15 years, supporting their family, and just throwing them in vans and stuff like, when you start doing this, you're going to get reaction. You're going to get every action is met with a equal and opposite reaction. And it's not just Los Angeles. This is going on in Chicago right now. And protests are erupting all over the country for people that are against what ICE is doing, because it's absolutely insane. There was a woman that was almost graped. You know what I'm saying? I'm on YouTube. I got to be careful. The other day, because a guy walked up to her and said, "Hi, I'm immigration. I'm ICE." And she believed him. And he had a mask over his face, and he walked her into an alley and he punched her in the face and he tried to sexually assault her. We had a guy that just robbed a store because he walked in and said, "Immigration." And he had like some bulletproof vest on, and everybody believed him. And he went and put the woman who ran the store in zip ties after a bunch of people got scared and ran out. And then he proceeded to rob the store blind and left. The reason why people can do this is because you have people that are out in the streets wearing masks over their face that are working for the federal government. Understand something. When people, American citizens, okay, are in the streets and they're protesting wearing a mask on their face, they're protected by the Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment allows you to disguise your face. You're allowed to. But do you know who the Fifth Amendment doesn't apply to? It doesn't apply to a government agency. It doesn't apply to a government agency. If is coming to my house to approach me on a matter or a certain issue, they can't not show their face. That's literally insane. I can't believe that Republicans are supposed to believe it. This is the most egregious thing. Even somebody like Alex Jones, who's been around for 20 years, that has literally gone insane about all the overreach from the FBI and from government agencies and all this corruption. And you're okay with guys that are government agents running around with masks over their face and just grabbing people off the street, throwing them into vans? This is crazy. And there's going to be huge blowback. And the MAGA movement is dying. And it is. It's dying. And like, it's like the truth is going to surface, okay? The brainwashing is going to stop at some point. The social media propaganda is going to reach its maximum impact, and it's going to start falling and falling in reverse. It's already happening. There's a bunch of like hardcore right-wing podcasters that are already starting to change and starting to shift and talking about other stuff. Like, I'm going to talk about other stuff. I'm not even going to talk about this now that, there's all kinds. I mean, this is insanity, guys. And no matter whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, you can't allow this stuff. You can't allow this stuff in our country. You just can't do it. It's literally insane. So in other news, one last thing I'm going to talk about is Israel bombed Iran. This is a real serious problem. This is a real problem. And the reason why this is a problem is because BRICS, which I'll pull up here so you guys can see, is an intergovernmental organization comprising of 10 countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates. And they're continuously growing. I think that their countries, BRICS is now up to like 22, 23 countries. It's up there. They now have like 60% of the world population a part of this union. And America has just been disconnected from everybody, from the rest of the world, through the tariffs, through the arguing with Canada, trying to annex Canada, all the stuff that we've been doing just to alienate our allies. We're now kind of sitting on a lone island. And Iran getting bombed by Israel, and America being so supportive of Israel, which I want to make pretty clear, I have been time because, and let me explain why before anybody freaks out. But my reason for that was in 2001 and on September, there was a terrorist attack on American soil, and planes were flown into the Twin Towers and the Pentagon. And we had like, I don't know, a couple thousand deaths or whatever the number was. We then responded with incredible lethal force, and we killed over 450,000 people. 450 men, women, and children. Many that were innocent civilians. Many. So there was some moments where I started to beg the question, if you're Israel and the same thing happened to you and you had like over 1,000 people killed on your soil, why wouldn't you be allowed to go and fight and kill these people that are your enemy and it's a terrorist and he cared? But now that it's Jews, everybody cares. It kind of put me on the fence. But what I don't agree with and what I'll never stand for is cruelty. When you start to get to the level of where you're being cruel to the point of like, starving kids to death and doing egregious things, just absolutely appalling, disgusting things, it starts to be like where people can't be on your side anymore. It's like if you're with your friend and you're at a bar and some guy walks by and grabs his girl's ass. And he's like, what did you just do? You grabbed my girl's ass. So he punches the guy. And all of a sudden, after he hits the guy, you're like, hell yeah. I'm not going to stand in the way. You deserve to get your ass beat. So you sit and you watch the fight. But if the fight was going on for hours and hours and hours, and he's just pummeling, the dude's face is bludgeoned into the ground. His bones are all crushed into dust. And the guy's basically half dead laying there. And your boy's just and you're like, all right, bro, come on. Like, enough's enough, guy. Let's go. Let's get the hell out of here. And your boy's like, no, what are you against this? What are you defending what he did? It's like, no, I'm not defending what he did, man. But this is crazy. You've been bludgeoning his face for hours. It's kind of like that, if you could feel my metaphor. But anyway, that being said, Iran getting bombed by Israel, the United States supporting Israel, and Iran being in bed with China and Russia, this is all moving into a direction that we should really be paying attention to. That's all I'm going to say for now. But anyways, guys, I'm really glad that so many of you viewed or that you stopped in and watched it. I have somebody calling me a liberal activist liar. The videos do not lie. Dude, shut the fuck up, Terry Broning, you idiot. You're watching a bunch of videos that I just explained were being blown out of proportion. I am not a liar. I live in Los Angeles. Where the fuck do you live, Terry, you idiot? Where do you live? Huh? Where do you fucking live, in Oklahoma or some fucking shit? And what you saw on Fox News is true, and what I went down and saw with my own eyes is a lie. I'm a liberal activist. Shut the fuck up. I cannot stand fucking people like you. Blocked. Yes, I'm okay with it. Get all the illegals out of this country. Okay. To you, Mr. SL87, and you want to talk about getting the illegals out of the country, here's what I'm going to say to you, okay? What I'm going to tell you is this. There's a real simple way to get undocumented people out of the country. Super simple way. And I'm going to tell you what that is. I'm going to tell you right now how to simply, very simply, get every undocumented person out of the United States. Happen just like that. And not only will it happen, it won't cost us a dime. I have a way, without spending a dime, without bringing harm to anybody, without using military force, without being cruel, without separating families, without doing any of this. I have a way to 100% get rid of every undocumented person in the United States. You ready for this? I'm going to tell you how you do it. Make it against the law for businesses to hire undocumented people. I think it already is, but make it worse than just whatever the penalty is now. Make it incredibly, incredibly damaging. Make the fine so egregious that if a company was to be found out, like, think about it. I think that if a business sells alcohol without a license, that is way more severe what happens to them than what happens if they hire undocumented immigrants. So all you have to do is pass legislature, just pass laws that make it literally illegal for undocumented people to work in the United States. And guess what? They'll self-deport. They'll leave. They won't come here because they'll say there's no jobs. That's it. They'll be like, well, there's nowhere for us to work, and they won't come here anymore. But, and let me stress this, what you need to understand, what all of you need to understand who want to sit here and disagree with me and support ICE and whatever it is, that's fine. But what all of you don't understand is this, and I know some of you are brainwashed to believe otherwise, and there's nothing I can do about that, but I'm going to tell you the facts. Undocumented immigrants, right? For ordinary folks, ordinary workers in America, I know you know I was an ordinary worker in America. And one thing, I come from the streets. For those of you who don't know me, I come from the streets, utter homelessness. My mother was a prostitute, in and out of jail, grew up in a crack house. I came from a very, very horrible life, very horrible. And that's just a piece of the story. There was a movie made about my life that won awards. So I'll just tell you that straight up. So what I could tell you emphatically, okay, about coming from nothing, is that when you go to work all the time, when you go to work every week and you get your check, you don't get all of it. You don't get all of it. You don't have any say over that. There's nothing you could really do over that. I mean, you could fill out a W-2 and maybe you could have some say. You could write in a little box that says like, hey, I have a kid or something, or I'm eligible for this tax grant or whatever it is, right? But you get this check and the money's gone. They take the money out of it. Undocumented people, when they work, the taxes is taken out of their check. But undocumented people can't use any of the services that tax is paid for because they'll get ousted. If they try to go to a medical facility and use healthcare or try to go apply for food stamps or try to go and do any of those things, they would put themselves in jeopardy of being criminally, for the civil violation. The cops would come and investigate what's going on with them, and they'd probably be deported almost immediately. So understandable, they were like, I'm not gonna tell on myself. I'm gonna lay low. And they would work and work and work and work and work. The truth of the matter is that $90 billion a year is put into the tax system by undocumented immigrants. $90 billion a year, none of which is spent on them. It all goes to the country. We actually get a benefit from them working in these jobs. That's the truth. The other truth of it is when they get their money, they spend it. They spend it. They go to Walmarts, they go to Targets, they buy food, they go to stores, they spend money. And that money that they spend is $500 billion of our GDP. $500 billion of our GDP comes from immigrants that are here undocumented. $500 billion. Now, I know for a fact, okay? I know for a fact that I know that the statistics are out. So we'll actually take a look at this right now, okay? I will do this in front of you guys, and we're going to take a look at this, okay? I'm going to ask AI, what percentage of illegal immigrants are violent criminals? What percentage of illegal immigrants are violent criminals? So let's just take a look and see what it says. Key statistics. A National Academy of Sciences and Cato Institute study in Texas, the only state tracking criminals by immigration status, found that illegal immigrants have a conviction rate of 45% lower than that of native-born Texans. Another analysis showed undocumented immigrants have a homicide conviction rate 14% below native-born Americans. And overall, criminal conviction rates 41% lower. According to FBI UCR data, undocumented individuals are over twice as unlikely to be arrested for violent crimes, 2.5% less likely for drug offenses, 4 times less likely for property crimes than U.S.-born citizens. Overall crime rates and trends, a meta-analysis of 51 studies covering 1994 to 2014 found a slight but statistically significant negative correlation between undocumented immigration and violent crime. Multiple sources agree higher immigrant populations have not led to higher crime rates. Some studies even report declines in drug offenses, DUIs, and property crime. U.S. bottom line, there is no evidence that undocumented immigrants are more prone to violence. On the contrary, they are incarcerated 60% less often than native-born citizens. Their conviction rates for violent and other crimes are significantly lower. Emotional-driven, high-profile cases like the Laken Riley tragedy receive outsized media attention, even though the overall statistical contribution of undocumented immigrants to violent crime is very small. In sum, violent crime by undocumented immigrants is notably lower compared to native-born Americans. Specific percentages: violent conviction rates 14 to 45% lower, arrest rates 2 to 4 times lower, incarceration rates 60% lower. So here's what I want to know, all right? How many undocumented people are in America? Oh, my earpiece fell out. Whoops. All right, so how many of them are in America? 11 million. There's 11 million undocumented immigrants lived in the United States in 2022. 3% of the total U.S. population. So there's 12 million of them, or 11 million of them. Show the total hovered between 10.99 and 11.57 million in recent years. Okay, so now, what percentage of that 11 million are criminals? Now, don't be like, well, they're illegal, so they're criminals no matter what. They all are. No, because to be here undocumented is a civil violation, not a criminal. Not a criminal violation. Please understand the difference. Criminality among undocumented immigrants, incarceration, it's going to give us a bunch of the same stats, but a Congressional Research Service report from 2011 found about 173,000 incarcerated criminal aliens. If we use a rough 11 million total undocumented population, that corresponds to about 1.6% being incarcerated at that time. More broadly, including those on probation or parole, the estimate rises to around 519,000 criminal aliens, or roughly 4.7%. So 4% of all of the people here undocumented are criminals. They need to go. Nobody has a problem with that. They need to go. They need to be given due process on the way out, but they need to go. And I could tell you emphatically that Barack Obama had more people deported, more criminals deported than probably any president in American history. One of my very good friends, he was from Africa, and we were like super cool when we were young, back when we used to rap together. And I could tell you right now that he caught like a gun charge. He had a gun on him, and he never committed a crime, but he did have a gun on him. He was driving down the street one day with his friends. He got stopped. He had a gun. He didn't have a permit or a license to carry or whatever. But under Obama, boom, he had to go to Africa. Never allowed back here again. Never allowed back here again. So this idea that you think that we haven't, that America doesn't deport criminal illegals is fucking crazy. America's done it since the beginning of time, and we're always going to do it. But we do it the right way. We do it through due process. We do it the humane way. Now, if anybody has something against humanity, then you really should fucking take a good look in the mirror at what's wrong with you. What is wrong with you that you like the cruelty? I want to see soldiers and cops beating these guys to the ground, throwing them in vans, and who cares about due process? Like, if you're somebody like that, dude, you're the fucking problem, man. You got something fucking wrong with you. Like, everybody's entitled to a lawyer. Everybody. Every person in the United States is entitled to a lawyer. Every single person. So now, if we were to go in and think about that 1.6% or even up to 4% of these illegals were criminals, understand that Donald Trump has plans to remove 3,000 a day. Well, until today. He actually just recently announced that he's walking back on that. And I'm actually going to show you the clip. I'm going to show you guys the clip because I have it right here. I know Gavin Newsom put the post up. So let's search for Gavin Newsom again. I got to pull his page up. That's a pretty hot chick on the cover of Rolling Stone. Wow. So here we go. Gavin Newsom. He was in his thing. He announced this. So let me pause this and let me just. Is there a way to zoom in to get that a little bit clearer? Here, we'll do this. Let's go ahead and screen cap this, and I'm gonna zoom in. So Donald Trump just posted this on Truth Social today. Our great farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business have been stating that our very aggressive policy on immigration is taking very good, long-time workers away from them, with those jobs being almost impossible to replace. In many cases, the criminals allowed into our country by the very stupid Biden open borders, which is just stupid, policy, are applying for those jobs. This is not good. We must protect our farmers, but get the criminals out of the USA. Changes are coming. So he's now announcing, this guy is now announcing that he's going to walk back on his policy because hotel workers are telling him, you're taking away all our good workers. This shit show gets funnier and funnier every day, man. Like, so understand that in that statement, he has admitted that they're not just grabbing criminals, that they're literally grabbing people that are working people that have lived here for years. And I get, again, and I want to stress, I understand that what you're saying, that they're here and they're unlawfully here, they're not documented. So regardless of whether they're working, I get all that. But also understand there's a $90 billion a year tax gift that we get from it. There's $500 billion in consumer spending towards the American GDP that we get from it. And why spend hundreds of, you know how much money it would cost to deport our 12 million? $250 billion. 250 billion tax dollars to deport 12 million people. So we have that expense. We lose 90 billion in tax every year, and we lose the 500 billion in GDP. That's a pretty expensive, that's almost $1 trillion that America loses because of this ideology that we shouldn't ever have anybody in America if they haven't made themselves a citizen. It's like, look, man, people who are broke, poor white people, if anything, should understand this. I grew up a poor white person. I grew up in the fucking slums. My mom was a fucking crackhead. Like, she smoked crack out of broken light bulbs and shit. Like, I literally grew up in dire fucking situations. Homeless on the street, soup kitchens, sleeping in alleys with my mother. That's how I grew up. And I know when you're poor, you will do anything. You will do anything you can to survive. Anything you can. I know a lot of my friends that are on the street right now. I have tons of friends that are homeless, and people that I help. I give money to them. I try to do the best I can to help them. And I know that they're desperate, man. They're hurting. A lot of them white men. And they're like, man, I'm fucking willing to do anything to survive right now. I don't really know what to do. And so how can you not understand that that's what these immigrants are doing? How can you not understand that? Like, have you ever seen what's going on in El Salvador? Have you ever seen what has been happening in Mexico with the Mexican mafia and all the stuff that's going on there? These people are coming from real struggle. And they're like, man, what can we do? How can we survive? Let me see if I can sneak my family over the border. Let me see if I can get a job somewhere. Let me see if there's some kind of a way I could feed my kids. I mean, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you do that? All of a sudden, like, that's the kind of people we're going to become. We're going to become the kind of people that want to, like, I mean, to be a man in this country, to be a man, in period, on the earth, to be a man, to be a real masculine man, to me, is that you challenge people who are in power and you defend people who have less power than you. That's, to me, like, you're supposed to protect people that are vulnerable, not bully them. I don't understand how this doesn't make any sense. So, do I think that these people should go? Look, if you make the argument that they're not legally supposed to be here and that they should leave, okay, we'd have to really seriously reconstruct some things. We'll lose 12 million people, somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think like 9 to 10 million of them in the workforce. Somebody's going to have to pick the blueberries. I hope these white guys that are, I just went to Fresno, California recently, and I met with the owners of a blueberry field there. One of the most successful that are there. Not too long ago, just a couple days ago, this actually happened. And about a week and a half ago. And it was really cool. They let me pick the berries. They showed me all the differences of the blueberries, and I was eating them and stuff. And they told me, they said, we have a lot of people here. We're really scared because there's a lot of people here that are picking blueberries that are undocumented. And, it's like, who do you want to do that job? And by the way, the idea that it's not skilled labor, let me tell you, one of the things I learned being at that farm, it is not easy to go blueberry picking. It's actually pretty difficult without crushing it. And without doing it wrong or messing with it. There's like a procedure and how you do it quickly. And, these people are trained to do that, and they're willing to sit out in a field in 85 to 90 degrees, sometimes, extremely hot weather because there's just no shade for miles, and do this all day. And that's what makes blueberries affordable to you. So it really is like an economic question. It's like, I mean, why do you have a problem with that? Why is that an issue? I mean, why is that not two things good? You're getting cheap blueberries and they're fleeing a horrible country and providing for their families. They're not taking up space. They're not doing anything. They're not infringing upon you. What are they doing to hurt you? I've traveled. I was just in Oklahoma. For those of you who don't know, I recently did a film that won some awards, and I was on tour going around the world to these different film festivals. One of them was Oklahoma City. I hung out with a bunch of these guys that live out in the country. These wonderful guys. They're all white, all in their late 20s, early 30s. Some of the best people I ever met. Country guys, actual Christian guys. And really hardcore Christian. I'm not somebody who believes in any sort of faith, but these guys were like super Christian guys, and that was totally cool. I mean, I had no issue with that. And I hung out with these guys. I partied with them. I had fun with them. And we started sitting around having some heavy discussions, and we started talking about this. And it's like, they're sitting there going, we have land out here. We have houses out here. We're living great. Like no one's impeding on us. They didn't have any issues about immigrants coming into the country or anything like that. I don't know where this stuff comes from. Propaganda, social media, a lot of lies being fed to people. But I feel like that if you're a real masculine man, your job should be to challenge people who have more power than you, and it should be to help people that have less power than you. And that's the bottom line. No matter what. And I'll say this as sure as hell, Democratic or Republican, if Barack Obama was in the White House right now and he was sending, people around to abduct people off the street and ship them out of the country, I would be flipping out so far. I don't care who's doing it. It's criminal. It's not okay to do. And it's good to find out things for yourself. It really is. ICE agents look like absolute thugs with pop bellies and sagging pants. What kind of respect have they earned for themselves? Face green, smiling. Listen, I agree. You can't go walking up to people with masks on, baggy t-shirts. You don't even look like you don't even look like a police officer, and you're just grabbing people. It's crazy. Unfiltered bastard. You mean the way that they have been doing it for years, but somehow had no issue with it until Trump did it? Yeah, but that's not true. That's not true. You're right that Obama deported people. You're right that Biden did 100%, but they didn't do it like this, dude. Nobody's ever done it like this. Nobody has ever done this. Nobody's ever drove up and just sandbagged people off the side of the street and threw them. Okay, you're telling me to Google it? Man, I will sit here and Google it all day long. There has never been, I'll ask AI right now. I'll prove it right now. That's never happened. And you're going to tell me that Obama and Biden sent people to concentration camps over in El Salvador and stuff with no due process and no lawyers? You're going to tell me that that's happened. All right, let's take a look. You guys want to challenge me on it? I'll accept the challenge. Here, let me close this off. Let me widen this screen. Has Joe Biden or Barack Obama, this damn thing, ever deported people with no due process? We'll just start with that. Have they ever deported people with no due process? Is there any record of that? Let's see what it says. I'll stand corrected if it says it. I will, So Barack Obama, mass deportations through summary or expedited removal. Obama oversaw a peak of 3 million removals, many under expedited. Okay, so they were expedited. Summary processes at the border. These procedures often occur at ports of entry or border zones and do not involve full hearings before an immigration judge, no counsel, no presentation of evidence, no meaningful review. Dedicated enforcement programs. He also launched Operation Crosscheck, targeting individuals with criminal records. While these did involve arrest and removal, they were still administrative processes under DHS authority, not formal court proceedings. Okay. Civil liberties groups, ACLU, AFL-CIO, UCLA Law, consistently argued that Obama prioritized speed over fairness, deporting people. Okay, so if Barack Obama did do this, I was unaware of it. I stand corrected. But what I will say is this. The ACLU, the AFL-CIO, and the UCLA Law consistently argued that Obama prioritized speed over fairness, deporting people, especially families and children, without full and fair hearings. So it sounds to me like people did say something about this. And the ACLU is about as liberal as it gets. So it sounds to me like liberals were standing up and saying that this was something that they didn't agree with. So this is where I get confused. So if Barack Obama did something similar to this, and by the way, I'm glad you informed me of this because I did not know that this happened. I really didn't. I did not know that. This was not, I was not privy to this. However, it's still not quite the same because he wasn't going around the United States and grabbing people at their work and their jobs. But he was doing it basically at the border. But the liberals stood up to it. These liberal agencies, UCLA Law, what do you think? That's a bunch of conservatives? You think ACLU is MAGA? No, these people stood up to Obama when he did this. Obviously. We'll get to Biden in a minute. But my point is that why is it that whenever I talk to a MAGA conservative, they say to me that the liberals just let everybody in the country and don't care about the American people if this happened? What are you talking about? That's the thing that's confusing me. It's very confusing. I don't get it. Joe Biden, expedited removal and dedicated dockets. Now, this is the guy that MAGA always says he let everybody and all these criminals. Trump just said that Biden let everybody in the country. Expedited removal and dedicated dockets. While less is documented, recent reports show the Biden administration removed over 13,000 unaccompanied minors and absentia without anyone present to represent them in fiscal year 2022-2023. That comes from the UCLA.edu. I'm about to sneeze. Woo. Sorry, guys. I'm allergic to facts. No, I'm just kidding. Criticism over due process shortcuts. Advocacy groups have litigated claims against Biden-era expedited removal rules, arguing that they lacked fair hearings and stripped due process rights when individuals are removed without proper judicial review. So organizations that were upset that Joe Biden was forcefully or unfairly removing immigrants. So again, I guess what makes me so confused is what exactly are right people talking about, are MAGA people talking about when they say that, Biden let all these people in the country. What are you talking about? Not according to this. Sounds like he was doing some pretty rugged shit and sending people out of the country. Summary: both Obama and Biden administrations use expedited or summary removal processes involving administrative deportations without access to full immigration, court hearings, or legal counsel. These methods, such as summary removal, expedited removal, and absentia orders, permit removals without traditional due process in immigration courts. Advocacy groups have repeatedly challenged these methods, arguing they violate constitutional and statutory rights by denying fair hearings. So people were upset. And that's exactly no different than what's going on in California. People are upset. They don't like the way that this is being done. It's literally the same thing. Only they're out there protesting. And they have a legal right to do so. 100%. Just because a couple of assholes go off and they burn vehicles, or they burn a car, or they do something illegal or something stupid, doesn't mean that the people don't have a right to process. And it certainly doesn't mean that Los Angeles is a fucking war zone. And again, I live here. Los Angeles is not a war zone. I live 20 minutes away from where the protests are. 20 minutes away. And today I walked through the city, 5 blocks to go get some food. I went and had Starbucks. I went and did my thing. Beautiful women were out walking. It was a gorgeous day in LA. What the hell are they talking about that it's a war zone? So you made me privy of something that I was unaware of. Now I'm going to make you privy of something that you're unaware of. And that is that the vast majority of the shit you're seeing pumped through your face, smashed through your skull hole, all on social media and on the news is a fucking lie. It's a lie. If you want to go on my YouTube channel, I have a video where I went downtown to the protest and shot it and showed it. And I spoke to the police on live footage. And they told me straight up, one of the cops was there from Northern California, didn't know why he was there. There was no need for even the excessive police force, let alone 4,000 National Guard. So though we could start meeting on some common ground regarding the fact that, Obama and Biden obviously did some things similar to what Trump is doing right now, that doesn't stop the fact that when they did that, people got mad. And when Trump is doing it, people are getting mad. But Trump is doing it far more egregious than this, because with this, it was being done at the border. At the border. It wasn't being done in the cities, driving into communities, tear gassing restaurants and arresting chefs. That is not what Biden and Obama did. Do you understand what I'm trying to get at? Hopefully that'll at least lay the framework for what exactly it is that I'm saying. Okay, let me see some more comments in here. Dude, it's okay. The media is sending an unfair message. Lure 60 man, I guess. I don't know. I guess that's the way I'll say it. 60 man, I'll just call you. You're right. The media sends a lot of lies. We all know that legacy media can blow things out of proportion. And we all know that social media is like one of the things that I wish people would understand is that there's something worse than legacy media, and it's social media. The fact that Elon Musk, okay, let me explain something to you, okay? And I've asked AI this, and I'll do it again if you want, okay? So we're actually gonna do this. I want to show you guys this, okay? This is a very interesting thing I'm gonna show you guys. If CBS, ABC, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, we'll even throw them in there, Fox, And trying to think. NPR. Okay, we'll say NPR. If CBS, ABC, CNN, MSNBC, we'll put NBC as well. Fox, NPR, and NBC were all to report a story, or the same story, we'll say report the same story, how many people would hear about it in less than 24 hours? Let's take a look at these numbers. So now what I'm asking is, if CBS, ABC, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, NPR, and NBC all ran one report, the same story, how many people would hear about it in less than 24 hours? It says 100 million Americans. That's what it's calculated. 100 million Americans in about a day would see it. Combined, ABC, CBS, and NBC are 20 to 25 million viewers. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, their daily reach across all platforms, 25 to 30 million viewers. Subtotal, 40 to 55 million. NPR is the reason why the number spikes. They have 40 million people with 8 to 12 million daily radio listeners. So NPR is actually significantly more powerful than legacy media. And NPR is not really, they're kind of not really legacy. They're more sort of, I wouldn't call them legacy media. But anyway, 100 million people. So now, it says final estimate 100 to 120 million people. Now I'm going to type this. If Elon Musk made one post on X and every single one of his followers and users get notified, because they do, when he posts, how many people will see that in 24 hours? So he has 187 million, which is actually, he doesn't. He has over 200 million followers now. This is outdated. If all followers were notified and opened it, 187 million. Realistic estimate with behavior and platform limits, 18 to 28 million, 6 to 11 million, 20 to 50 million. Real example, Elon Musk's most viral posts often get 40 to 70 million views in a day, even without all followers being notified. That's without all followers being notified, but all followers are notified. If everyone saw it instantly, theoretical max 187 million views. That's just based on his users. But Elon Musk has implemented a feature into X where I don't follow Elon Musk, but I get notified 15 times a day every time he tweets. So he does notify all people. So one man, okay, now they're saying 50 to 70 million, which is strange, because I've calculated this before and it actually is 200 million people. I don't know why it's giving me a different number right now, but we're talking about one fucking guy has the ability to reach 50 to, and this is just based on their estimate, not even mine, 50 to 70 million people. One man can almost hit the number of what they're saying 7 of the biggest legacy news organizations in the entire country can reach. One guy. So understand that that's called propaganda, folks. That's called a guy that could literally just tweet something. And keep in mind, let's be real. When he tweets something, what happens? It immediately gets shared. It immediately gets spread everywhere. It immediately starts to make its rounds around the internet. Joe Rogan starts regurgitating whatever it is that he said. Asmund Gold starts doing a video and starts showing some pro-Elon, pro-Trump shit. All of a sudden, that narrative trickles and goes throughout. Social media can make you far more brainwashed to believe something is true than anything on the planet. There's a famous quote, I don't know who it's attributed to. It might be Mark Twain that I think it's attributed to. That is, a lie makes its way around the world before the truth puts its pants on. That is a fact. You know how easy it is I saw a guy on YouTube the other day that was trying to show LA under siege. He titled the video LA under siege or something like that, and was like, Los Angeles is a war zone, all this stuff. And I'm watching the clips that he's using, and I know for a fact none of those clips were even from this protest. None of them. And they know that they're lying. They know that they're lying, but they know that people click on that shit. They know people click on that shit. They know people view that shit. And they know that you're not going to take the time to find out, well, is this really from this protest? Is this really They know that you're not going to take the time. You're just going to stop and see a car on fire and immediately go, wow, LA is under siege. Oh my God. You're not going to verify anything. You're not going to look into anything. And I'm telling you, I was watching this crap happen and I live here. And I was like, is my city really under siege? Is my city really going to burn down? Is that really true? Let me see for myself. And I grabbed my cell phone and I went out in my car and I drove 20 minutes right to downtown, found where the action was. I had to walk through 6 blocks of police barricades. There was just thousands of police officers and I didn't even see the protest yet. I just walked through 6 blocks of police barricades. I didn't see a single person waving a flag. I didn't see nothing for that 6 blocks. Then by the time I got to the protest, which was 6 blocks of police barricades, I saw about 800 people standing in one intersection area, surrounded by police in military garb with riot shields. And there was no violence. There was people like yelling, fuck you, you're a fascist, shit like that. There was young kids on these e-bikes riding around and doing papa wheelies in the fucking street. And there was flags. Everybody says they were waving, other countries' flags. It was a mixed bag. There was as many American flags as there was Spanish flags. And I was there. I saw that. There was they were trying to hold them to try to form like unity. Like some people were like, hey, America. And they were, hey, Mexico, remember us? Like we're people that are American too. It wasn't like, oh, we care more about Mexico. Everything was just taken so out of context because this has always happened. I was at Occupy Wall Street. I was there. And I literally stood on the ground of Occupy Wall Street and protested, and the exact same thing happened. The exact same thing. It was like everything in the news was like, oh my God, they're down here, they're doing this, they're doing that. And they were calling us socialists and all this shit that all we wanted was for people to go to jail for crimes they committed. That's all we wanted. There was a bunch of billionaire bankers who robbed billions of dollars out of the economy and caused 7 million people to lose their homes. And we wanted somebody to go to jail for it. Nobody did. And the reason why is because money runs this country, man. Not Donald Trump. Trump is nothing, really. Trump is nothing. And he doesn't have any fucking power. He thinks he does, but he doesn't. He wants to flex, I'm in charge, I'm the guy and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, dude, we know who's in charge. The people that really run this country were the 5 billionaires that were standing behind him at his inauguration. You know who they were. That's who really runs the country. And they're going to listen to him. When he tells them, you need to change your rules. You need to change this. He was threatening Amazon, telling them to take books down off the site that he disagreed with and all this shit. And, he's going to do that and they're going to listen. They're going to play ball, but they run this country. When Elon Musk tweeted out the other day, when he threatened Congress by basically saying, remember, Trump's only going to be around for 3.5 years, but I'll be around for another 40. He was letting everybody know who really runs this country. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys with that. My name is Tommy Kane, and please subscribe to my channel if you like my channel, if you want to hear more about what I say. For those of you who want to tell me to go fuck myself, that's okay. Subscribe to the channel. When I go live, show up to tell me to go fuck myself. I have absolutely no problem with it. I don't mind people disagreeing. Just please come educated with some facts like that one dude did. It's really like crazy to me when people show up and they're just super, super emotional and just saying shit that's not true. Also, I want to appreciate, I'm sorry, I just realized that a bunch of you that commented, it just now loaded. It was doing something where it was not giving me them, and now I'm seeing so many of your comments and I feel bad for not responding. But yes, kind of like Zuckerberg did a few years ago, 60 Man. Absolutely. Lived in Woodland Hills, Santa Monica, Studio City for 27 years, still work there twice a month. I know what's going on. Yeah, 60 Man. Like if you live in LA, you do know that this was blown out of proportion. You know it was. Especially if you've gone down there and went down there and saw it. Like I saw a map. It was so funny because it showed all of Los Angeles, and then it showed the size of the protest, and it's like literally it's like a tiny little freckle like on the entire map of Los Angeles, and they bring 4,000 National Guard here. It was just absolute government overreach, totally ridiculous, and just insane. Anyways, so I appreciate all of you watching. Again, I'm Tommy Kane. For those of you who don't know who I am, I used to be a signed hip hop artist. I then moved from that to becoming a filmmaker. I've always been an activist. I was a part of raids on Scientology. I was a part of Anonymous in the earlier movements in the early 2000s. I mean, or in the early 2009, like 2009-ish, 2008, 2010 era. I was a part of the Occupy Wall Street movement, and basically, I can tell you emphatically that I try to be as reasonable as possible, and I really do. I come from utter poverty and utter nothing, and I understand why people supported Trump. I'm not here to bash people. I do get really, really tired of propaganda, though, being screamed in my face. And all I'm trying to do is just alert people of the facts. That's what I do. And if you want to come and debate those facts, or if you want to come and listen to those facts, please like this video. Please sub the channel. And I plan on doing this every day. I typically do it around this time every single day. So anyway, I thank all of you for stopping in and giving me some people to talk to today.